Oh, damn. Damn. You good, man? You good, girl? Oh, what the fuck? You're not good. You're not good at all. Holy shit. Wait. The fuck, is that magic? Great. Yeah, one of you died, so just get stronger. Yeah, magic. Oh. Mysterious power extend. Okay, that feels cool. Oh, that's dope. Feeling lucky, man. Who the fuck are you? Toski, look up. Bro, look up. Yeah, quickly, look up, man. On the one hand, I'd probably say no, because no, bitch, that's my food. But at the same time... Yo, what's up? Welcome back. Welcome if you're new. My name is Mark, and today we're talking about I Want to Love You Till Your Dying Day, Episode 1. If you want to see my reaction to it, because the preview at the beginning was not enough for you, make sure you check it out in the description down below. Also, you can come back here for the review before or after the reaction. It's up to you. And then but just make sure you check out both of them. And also, while you're down there, make sure the like button, subscribe, and ding that notification bell. Hype the video on the YouTube mobile app. But with that said, if you're new here, and if you've been here before, you know what to do. Grab your snacks, grab your drinks, grab your notebooks, because I took quite a bit of notes. And let's talk about the episode. So, this episode starts out visually really good, although a little too visceral, if you ask me. I'm actually kidding. Really, it wasn't that visceral, like for me personally, but I could see how some people could find it very visceral, very bloody, because it starts out with a schoolgirl dying in the woods, leaning against a tree. A lot of blood. We even see her holding where she got shot in some capacity, and there's a lot of blood. Like, it's just not looking good for her, man. And so the person that killed her, or proceeds to finish her off, has like a hood on, like it's in the rain, it looks like, I think, and we can't see their face, but they pull out, well, I thought it was a dagger at first, honestly, but turns out it's a wand, and that wand basically just kills them, I guess. I don't know how exactly they did it, what kind of magic that was, but it was magic. And before that, though, we pan out to see the forest before we don't see her die, technically. Like, we can assume that she dies and surmise it based on context and all that, but we don't actually see it happen, because when it happens, actually, the sound just cuts out, and we pan out to see the forest that they're in, and there's a bunch of other conflicts going down, too. It's just a bad time, man, at night. And don't get me wrong, I like watching stuff with conflict as much as the next dude, because it makes things entertaining, and it can also bring in some interesting dynamics. But come on, man. They could have at least made it during the day. I feel like during the day it'd be more exciting, because you can see more as well. But then again, there is also a mysteriousness to the nighttime, where it's kind of hard to see some things, and the red does stand out more, so I can see why they did it. The point is, I didn't hate that was a conflict. I do wish we weren't just thrown into it, essentially. But then, with that said, we fast forward to presumably the next day, and we get to meet our main character. Her name is Totsuki Sheen. Sheena? Totsuki. I've just been calling her Totsuki. And turns out that was her roommate, the girl that we saw get killed. Which, kind of dark if you ask me. And we learn through the teacher, the sensei, that officially she was killed during a raid last night, which is weird. At first it was weird, calling it a raid and all that, but it did answer one question, and then it proceeds to answer a lot more. In that, first, before I get into what we're actually informed of, we also learn that once that's announced, they just go back to what they were doing. It's just like a little, like a standard chill, casual announcement. Oh, someone died. One of you died. Yeah. Anyways, do better so you don't die like them, sort of thing. It's not great teaching, man. It's not great leadership, bro. And anyways, moving on, we actually learned what this place is. I didn't write down the name of the place because it was too long, and it didn't deserve me calling it by its title. But it's an orphanage that takes kids with nowhere to go and trains them for war. which is not surprising, which makes sense now. But like, damn, man. And apparently it takes boys and girls 10 to 17, puts them in groups by age, and has them live together and train to use their magic. Why? Like, and I'm gonna ask this again later on, but why go through all the trouble of making them live together, making them like have normal lives, somewhat normal lives, all things considered? But I'll get more into that later on, hopefully, if I remember to. But we get to then see the sensei be like, "Yo, all you, bring out your wands." And so they so wands are something that you carry around, it appears. Wands are something that you conjure, which is interesting. Now, where are the wands when they aren't conjured? Are they in a different room? Are they in some kind of subspace, like in magic or something? Or like are they being like made every time you conjure your wand? I'm not sure. I have questions like that. I like to ask questions like this in a magical world because I love learning more about the magic, how it works, and all that. And I do hope that, even though this is definitely not going to probably focus on the magic, I do hope we get to learn more about it, just because I think that'd be fun. But with that said, I will be right back. Apologies, YouTube, I am back. Now, but when everyone else is conjuring their wands, Totsuki is struggling. And it appears to be something that she's struggled with before. She's also hurt from a mistake that she made earlier on in the week, apparently. And so looking at all that, remembering that and then the sensei remembers that she was her roommate, the sensei decides to give her the afternoon off to clean out the dead girl's spare space in her room. And yeah, I wrote down. Oh, you're gonna hear me pronounce referring to her as Dead Girl because I generally don't remember if we got her name or not. So I'm just gonna calling her Dead Girl. Which, to be fair, we don't know much about her. As far as we know, she's just a corpse. Pretty much. But before she goes to do all that, some students are laughing and making fun of her for having like a day off and stuff like that. But before they can get too far, one of the classmates, her classmate's Seidan, a girl with a ponytail who gives off a cold, not mysterious, a cold, kind of like calculating vibe. She stands up and she's like, "Don't you guys know that she's..." And she's probably gonna say her roommate or whatever. But like, yeah, that was cool. But her friend, classmate, gets her to stop. Her classmate's name is Ari. So moving on. Meanwhile, Totsuki is cleaning the room, like she's supposed to, and she questions why everyone is okay with this, like the going about their day and stuff like that. And I already have a suspicion as to why, or at least some suspicion related to why. And it's probably because it's probably the simple fact that they were like trained. This was trained out of them because they're in the age. They're, as far as I could tell, they're in the 14-year age group. So presumably they probably started when they were younger. They probably got there when they're younger. And so the reason I went okay with that is because they've had like those 4 years to be trained, to have that like empathy and stuff trained or beat out of them. Probably not beat out of them realistically, because beating a weapon, I would imagine, would not lend well to having a viable, up-to-date weapon if the weapon's injured and stuff like that. But who am I? I've never trained a weapon before, so I don't know, man. But no, I suspect that a lot of the kids, their like empathy and stuff, sympathy, was like probably killed out of them at some point a long time ago, or maybe they never had it in the first place, and Totsuki's just the odd man out here, which actually could be possible. Maybe. No, because Seidan, this Sadie or Seidan, she has empathy to an extent. But anyways, finishes cleaning, and all the dead girl has left is a stuffed bunny plushie, and it's a really cute plushie. I like it, man. And meanwhile, after all that, Totsuki goes to get some food from the cafeteria or from the kitchen, I guess. Maybe I'm not sure if it's a kitchen or a classroom or a kitchen, but like she went to get some food left. Luckily, there was some rice, and so she made rice balls with it, 2 of them, which fair enough. I would just take in the whole pan personally. But I wrote this. I wrote this down, and this comes back to the question I asked earlier. I wrote down that the girls, or at least Totsuki, seem to have some freedom to move around at night. And I wrote down that this is interesting because I question why. And I'm glad they have freedom and all that. But if I were in that world, if I were for some reason like running an orphanage, training weapons, I would question why you would give freedom to soldiers, weapons that you're training to, hopefully to kill and or die, essentially. Why would you give them a taste of like what it's like to not be a weapon by letting them go about their day like this? I just feel like logically, if you're in that position, you would want them to have the least amount of ability to resist or rebel as you can. Now, of course, I am looking at this from the wartime. This is wartime in a world of magic, and we need soldiers, and we need them badly, sort of situation perspective. So that's where I'm looking at it from. Now, and especially because they're young, because they're kids, they can be conditioned earlier on, presumably. At least I would assume they can, if in this kind of world. They could probably be conditioned earlier on, especially because they have nothing, to like not question things or like feel or enjoy freedom or whatever. I don't know. It's just a really curious thing that I'm wondering as to why all that. But I'm obviously not complaining per se. I'm just questioning it. If I were in their shoes, I'm just questioning it. But from my perspective, I'm glad they have the freedom and all that. It's nice. I'm happy for them. But anyways, Totsuki, she finds a place to sit down and eat because she doesn't want to wait until she gets back to her room. Which, fair enough, man. She sits down, and as she starts to eat, she has a flashback to when the dead girl said that Totsuki is lucky she's weak because she doesn't have to think about war. And Totsuki does not feel lucky, man, which I'm not surprised. But I can see both sides to it. Like, on the one hand, the dead girl, she's like, because she's not weak, not perceived as weak, she has to really, like, she's probably pushed during training and is deployed out to go fight people and kill people and stuff. Whereas with Totsuki, she doesn't have to. So I can see why the dead girl would be almost envious of Totsuki. Because, like, yeah, like, they don't like Totsuki. No one has expectations for Totsuki. Which also brings up a question of why Totsuki is even in this place. Like, if you think about it this way, why would this orphanage that's training soldiers, mind you, why would they want someone who they perceive as weak and who clearly, no matter what they do, probably isn't getting stronger? I'm trying to figure that out. Why would they? Because they're the government. They could just kick her out, let her fend for herself. Because like even a meat shield should be able to at least do some, like, be more useful than her probably in this situation. I don't know. Well, again, that's just what I'm questioning. Anyways, as Totsuki's about to eat again, we get a jump scare of sorts to some girl covered in blood standing before her, in front of her, while she's eating. We learn that she has pink hair. We also learned that her name is Mimi, but because we didn't know her name until then, I've just been calling her pink-haired girl. She shows up and she basically begs Totsuki to give her the rice balls that she made in the kitchen. And she does, for some strange reason, but also at the same time, I can't blame her personally because she's covered in blood and stuff like that. But at the same time, I really like food. I think, I don't know. If she had asked nicely and wasn't like grabby almost towards them, I might be nicer. But I don't know. I really like food, man. And if I did a bunch of cleaning and stuff, like cleaning out my dead roommate's area, all that stuff, I think I don't know if I'd want to share. But also at the same time, I do have some survival instincts because I see someone covered in blood, clearly covered in blood, but doesn't look injured, being like, "Yo, can I have some? Give me your rice balls." I might be like, "Yeah, sure. I don't want to die right now in this situation, despite the fact that we're at war and stuff like that." I don't know, man. It's a tough call. But yeah. She's also covered in someone else's blood because they have a conversation about how Totsuki's injured, and because she had a cut on her cheek that she had bandaged up. But then Totsuki looks at the pink-haired girl Mimi and it's like, "Are you injured?" And she's like, "Huh, I'm not." And that confirms that it's just someone else's blood that she's covered in, which, I mean, fair enough, I guess. And as things are about to just like wrap up for the night, Mimi decides to sniff Totsuki, and I have not figured out why quite yet. I mean, we're given a reason, but why sniffing? That's what I don't get. But she sniffs Totsuki's cheek with the 3-day-old scar injury, maybe scar actually, and says it smells nice. And at the time, I thought she was talking about like her blood or something, and so I was like, "What the fuck? Is she a vampire?" She could still be a vampire, if we're being honest here. But like, I didn't have a little more context, so I couldn't make a snap judgment aside from, "What the fuck, is she a vampire?" Because she could be a vampire. That's like a valid thought. Especially, hey, you cannot laugh at me. If you're laughing at me, don't. Because this is a world of magic. If there's magic, that means there could be vampires. Because magic and vampires and stuff like that go hand in hand. So, yeah. I still think she could be a vampire. Or there could be a vampire in this show. I hope there is. That'd be cool. Vampires are pretty cool. But immediately after she sniffs her and says, "Very nice," the nurse shows up and interrupts. Her name is Miss Fran. And she like grabs the pink-haired girl Mimi and is like, "Let's go." And then she looks, but before she leaves, she looks at Totsuki a little serious. She's like, "Did she tell you anything?" And Totsuki's like, "No," because not really. Although the not really part is it because she inferred that the blood isn't hers, or what's the not really part? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Why would she say not really? She should have said no. Maybe the not really sounds more believable than saying no. But also, I don't know. Depends. Doesn't really matter. But meanwhile, once they're outside the room, Miss Fran is holding the pink girl still, and she's like, "Let me go," sort of thing. And Miss Fran says that she told Mimi lots of times not to talk to the students. And that's interesting. And I wrote down why. And then I also wrote down, because we also learned apparently why she sniffed her, that she says that Totsuki smells like mama. And so that's an interesting thought. And meanwhile, as the nurse is walking away with Mimi, the nurse says, "I'm your mama," but then Mimi is like, "No, you're not." But that brings up a few questions. First off, why isn't she allowed to talk to the students? She looks to be about their age. Second thing is mama. In this context, is mama like, does she mean mother? Like her birth mother? Or does she mean the mama who took care of her, but maybe not by blood? Or is mama more of a title passed down to, or more of a or like the director of the orphanage or something? I don't know. I have questions like that. And if you've seen the episode, you know why I said passed down. We're gonna get to that. But in the meantime, next day, Totsuki couldn't sleep at all. Which, fair enough, man. If someone covered in blood was pestering me during my food time, and then took my food, and then sniffed me, said I smelled nice, kind of like a vampire would, and then left, but was like kind of mysteriously with the nurse, who then was like, did she tell me anything? I'd also probably have a hard time sleeping after that, if I'm being honest here. But meanwhile, turns out, if you saw this coming, Mimi's the new classmate, which is not surprising. And yeah, she has so much energy still, bro. And the funny thing is, she had energy at night. She has even more energy during the day, bro. And but interestingly, her name is Mimi Kagari. But apparently, Mimi is well known. And we didn't know why at the time, just that people were talking about her, that she's well known apparently. But we learned, but then some people are like, nah, there's no way that the Mimi is that cute or whatever. And we learned that Mimi enrolled at 10, but finally joined the class at the age of 14. So for the last like 4 years, she's been like fighting and killing and training and stuff, I'm guessing. And of course, she's also assigned as Totsuki's roommate, which that's par for the course with becoming a new classmate, man. And also, she's really, really chatty. And so the next scene, Totsuki and them are on their way to prayer, which is basically like a funeral service for the dead students. And so the way it goes is, while prayer is held, the students put flowers and keepsakes in the caskets. And Totsuki wants to put her roommate's bunny plushie in the casket, which is very sweet, very nice. I'm happy for her. And keep in mind, the whole time Mimi's talking up a storm, but she also is like unfamiliar with all of this, which is interesting. But also not. If like she had like special training for so long, it makes sense that she would not have the same experience as the others do. But what's interesting is that it's going to be very interesting to see how Mimi grows with Totsuki kind of humanizing her a little bit more in a way. But also, once they're up there, Mimi calls out, well, there are no corpses in the casket. And that's apparently well known, because corpses are strictly managed and disappear immediately from the battlefield, and that's why there's no corpses in the caskets. And the reason the corpses are managed is because corpses can be used by the enemy to gather information, which, because this is a world of magic, makes a lot more sense. Because otherwise, presumably, if it was like without magic, you could probably figure out like their age and like how healthy they are, I guess. I don't know, actually. I don't know how much you could help to like for like warfare purposes. General information, sure, about finding about the person, they're healthy and all that, but like warfare purposes, I'm not sure how it would help without magic. So it makes sense. And then this also brought up a very valid question that I hope we get some kind of answer to, even if it's not the focus. Who the fuck are the enemies that they're going after? Because are the enemies also using child soldiers, or are they like not? And another question is, if the enemies aren't using child soldiers, and then this country or whatever is just fucked up enough to use child soldiers, do the enemies feel remorse when they have to kill children all the time? And also, do the enemies like wanna like free the children? Could we get a subplot of like people trying to rescue the children? I don't know exactly, but I have questions about the world that they're in. I should have asked this earlier, really, but I am very curious who the enemies are and stuff like that. I really want to know. But meanwhile, moving on to the cafeteria. But before that, actually, as like at the end of that scene, Totsuki sadly says bye-bye to the casket after she sets down the plushie. But also, notably, before I get into this point, notably Mimi also, even if she places a flower on top of the bunny in the casket, which even if she's just really just copying Totsuki, that's a very big deal. The fact that she's doing something, presumably, even if it's because she's just copying her, the fact that she chose to do this as a way of just like doing what she's doing, that's a step in the direction of giving her sympathy and stuff like that. But anyways, when Totsuki says bye-bye, the way she says it, it sounds so depressing, so heartbreaking, but it also sounds so young. And that's like a reminder that these kids, despite being trained to be weapons and soldiers and stuff, they are children at the end of the day. Teenagers, sure, but they're still children. And this is all fucked up still, basically. But anyways, moving on to cafeteria. They're having lunch together, of course. And Seidan and Artie join them at lunch. It's just Totsuki, Seda, Artie, and Mimi now. And so they're eating lunch, and Artie seems like she's never had a day of not asking blunt questions in her life. She asks if Mimi is really the Mimi, which is an interesting phrase and question to ask, because we had learned that there were rumors about Mimi. Like, she was well known, apparently. And so apparently, and Totsuki didn't know any of this. And so Totsuki says that, and Totsuki asks what rumors. And so apparently for generations, rumors have passed down about Mimi, a special weapon with special training, essentially. And so that brought down two distinct questions for me. Is Mimi a title passed down, hence the quotation marks, or is Mimi some kind of immortal weapon? And the reason I ask that is because there are two vastly different paths you can go down for a story like that. The like title passed down to a weapon, quote unquote, is a path that you can go down where it's just where there's nothing, where it continues as is. However, if she was an immortal weapon and Mimi has just been around for so long, for generations essentially, or maybe not immortal, but more like not human, not completely human, so like made into something that can live for a very long time. But if we go down that path, that would indicate that there's more to making her more sympathetic and empathetic and empathizing with the others than if she was a regular their age and just happens to be a weapon, gain the title of Mimi. So those are the questions that I have right now about that. Is she a weapon, like passed down, like with a name passed down? Or is she just a very, very old, very powerful weapon? Two questions. And meanwhile, after that, an announcement of deployment is made over the speakers, and a bunch of numbers are called. And like they're all mostly 16 to 17-year-olds with one 14-year-old. And can you guess who it is? That's right, it's Mimi. Because I'm not surprised. But I cannot be the only one who was watching that scene and genuinely thought that this would be the kind of scene where they deploy not just Mimi, but also Totsuki. Like, that seemed like the perfect time for Totsuki to get a upfront, real experience of Mimi. The Mimi. Like, but I'm also not surprised at the same time, because, like, it seems like they do take their strategy of deployment and stuff like that seriously. So sending out someone who's, like, essentially just useless in the warfare specifically right now, it wouldn't be smart. But I did think that they were going to send both of them at one point. But meanwhile, after that all happens, we see Totsuki. I don't know if I'm calling her Totsuki this whole time. Oops. Totsuki. We see Totsuki say explicitly that she doesn't care about rumors of power, about battles, about who killed who, stuff like that. She doesn't care about the conflict and all that, which is not valid, honestly. Which, again, that does not seem like the kind of mindset a soldier wants to have. If we're being in this kind of world, this does not seem like the kind of mindset a soldier wants to have, which once again brings up the question of why the fuck is she still, there at that school, at that orphanage. I have no idea if this is an orphanage or a school. like if there's like two separate buildings for it or what. But so I keep going back and forth. But I still don't get why she's there. Like either she's there because of nepotism for some reason, or maybe she has a power that neither we nor her know about, but everyone else does. Like, but like the higher ups know, and that's why she's there. So I don't know. But it really does not seem like she belongs there at this orphanage, training to be a soldier. That's the thing. It's because she's taking classes, training her magic, training to be a soldier, that she is perceived as weak, but also it's probably well known that she doesn't have to care about war, or doesn't care much about anything. Like, that just does not seem like the right mindset in this situation where people are constantly dying. But anyways, moving on to later. The second to final scene we have is late at night. Totsuki, she got done with the shower, she's walking down the hall, and she's about to turn and go up the stairs, but she sees maybe not two of her classmates, but two students kissing. Two girls. And they're apparently like they're very into it, man. Like, they are very into it, bro. And she's embarrassed that she walked in on that, and she's like, wow. But then also Mimi shows up behind her, and it's like, wow. And Totsuki's like, yeah. But then she's like, oh, you're here, sort of thing. She hushes her, of course. And then Mimi's like, why are they kissing? But then Totsuki is like, they're not kissing. They're performing a form of restoration magic. Which, what the fuck? So apparently, get this, kissing is a form of restoration magic whereby pouring magic directly into it heals them. Now, and we do see the healing actually happen, so I can't even say it's like propaganda to like encourage them to kiss for some fucking reason. But it's so insane, but it also kind of makes sense that like kissing and stuff like that would like be a direct access for magic. And but also, on top of that, you have to be compatible. Like, you have to be in sync with each other, so it can't just be random people doing it. Which explains probably what Seidan and Artie are doing as well. But so I made a reference to this in the reaction, and I don't know if it's one of the preview clips I'm going to use if I use previews, but I alluded to the connection to kind of similar to another anime I reacted to, I think a season or two ago at this point, Isekai Office Worker. And because it's a BL, and it had a similar function, but instead of it being widespread, as far as I remember, it was just with the two main characters. But that's the first thought that went to my head, was Isekai Office Worker, because that's the only reference I have to something like this happening in a show. And then finally, after all that said and done, also Mimi finds this fascinating, which is interesting. And it really goes to show just how out of touch she is with everything else that's been going on. And so later on, Totsuki's having a stomach ache laying in bed while Mimi's across in her bed. They're just sleeping, but Totsuki's trying to, but she can't. She's got a stomach ache and she's groaning. And when she opens her eyes, Mimi's there. Just got a text message, apologies. But Mimi's there. And so when Totsuki opens her eye, because apparently Totsuki's groaning woke her up. And so Totsuki is like, I don't feel so great. I'm fine, but I have a stomach ache, but I'm fine. But then, without any preamble, without any like waiting, nothing like that, Mimi just goes in and kisses her. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like I knew that this was a yuri, a girls' love anime. I knew that going into this. But like, I assumed that there might be a little bit more preamble to their first kiss. That's just what I assume. That's what I'm used to with most romances that I have seen. Is like it's a slow burn. It's a build up to like even just a kiss, even just hand holding there's usually a slow burn. There's a build up to it, but not this. But then I also rationalized in the reaction itself as well that it kind of makes sense as well that they might not wait that long because they could die any moment. But like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I actually don't even know if we saw the scene, if like they continued the scene and the healing worked. For all we know, the healing could have did jack shit and not actually done anything. It was just a kiss for some random reason. But with that said, those are my thoughts. That's a recap. That's a review of the episode. Check out the reaction down below. I highly recommend you do so because it was really good. And yeah, the Patreon's down below with the link directly to the reaction. It'll also be in the comments down below if I'm going to do that. But as always, leave a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this episode. If you've seen the anime episode as well, please let me know what your thoughts are. Also, if you've read the manga, let me know if you enjoyed the manga. Don't spoil it, obviously. But with that said, like and subscribe, ding the notification bell, hype the video in the YouTube mobile app. It helps me out a lot. And with that said, today is Tuesday, tomorrow is Wednesday, and it will be a packed Wednesday, bro. So make sure you tune in. But with that said, until next time, my name is Mark. Never stop being yourself. Stay safe out there, and I will see all you incredible people in the very next video.